Are your mornings setting you up for success, or silently sabotaging your day? In this video, we're diving into 10 common morning habits that could be holding you back, and how Stoic wisdom can help you break free. Stay tuned until the end, where I'll share the most surprising habit to avoid that could completely transform your day. Ready to start your mornings with intention? Let's get into it. Number 1. Hitting the snooze button. Okay, let's be real. The snooze button is probably one of the most tempting things in existence. It's like a tiny portal to extra sleep, a brief escape from reality where your bed feels like the coziest place on earth. But here's the thing, hitting that snooze button is a trap, a sneaky little habit that can mess up your entire morning and, honestly, your mindset for the day. Now, from a Stoic point of view, mornings are important. Stoicism teaches us to be in control of our actions, to face the day with purpose and intention. But what happens when you hit snooze? You're already giving up control. You're making the decision to delay, to put off the inevitable. The alarm goes off and, instead of getting up and taking on the day, you're choosing to retreat back into sleep. Sure, it feels harmless at the moment, but it's a signal to your brain, I'm not ready to deal with life yet. This habit doesn't just affect those first few minutes of your morning, it spills over into everything else. The moment you start delaying, you're setting a tone of procrastination. And that seeps into other areas. Maybe now you're rushing through your morning routine, grabbing whatever clothes are closest instead of dressing with intention, skipping breakfast or grabbing something less healthy because you're in a hurry. The day is already off to a messy start because you wanted just 5 more minutes. But there's more to it than just logistics. Hitting snooze is a form of resistance, a way of running away from what needs to be done. The Stoics believed in accepting what comes, whether it's easy or tough. The alarm clock is an external event, you can't control when it goes off, because, well, you set it the night before, but you can control how you respond. Will you get up and face the day, or will you bury your head under the pillow and let the world wait for you? When you hit snooze, you're choosing comfort over discipline. You're saying, I'll face things later, but later never comes easily. It's also worth thinking about how those extra minutes of sleep after snoozing aren't even real rest. You're not getting quality sleep in those intervals, just fragmented bits that make you feel groggier than if you'd gotten up the first time the alarm rang. So, really, you're sacrificing a clear mind and energy for a few more minutes of nothing. When you ditch the snooze button, you're reclaiming your morning. You're starting the day with a small win, setting the tone for more wins throughout the day. Imagine how much more confident and in control you'll feel knowing you got up on the first ring, no hesitation. That's Stoicism in action. It's about taking responsibility for how you greet the day, whether you do it groggily and with reluctance or with energy and readiness. And hey, mornings aren't always easy. No one's pretending they are. But if you can master that first moment, that first choice to get out of bed, you've already conquered something big before most people have even opened their eyes. That's powerful. Number 2, checking your phone immediately. It's tempting, isn't it? That familiar chime from your phone lights up your morning, and suddenly your hand's reaching for it before you even know what's happening. But if you're trying to live more mindfully, especially with a Stoic mindset, this is one habit you should kick to the curb. The moment you wake up, your mind is like a blank canvas. Do you really want the first strokes of your day to be filled with noise, notifications, and someone else's priorities? When you immediately dive into your phone, you're handing over the reins of your day. Think about it. That first scroll, whether it's social media, news, or email, pulls you into a whirlwind of content that you didn't choose. It might be a work email that stresses you out or a social media post that sparks comparison. In an instant, you're reacting. That's the key word, reacting. Stoicism is all about cultivating a sense of inner calm and control, but that goes right out the window when you allow external distractions to hijack your mood first thing in the morning. Now, let's not get too harsh. Phones are tools, and they're not inherently bad. But it's how we use them, and more importantly, when we use them, that really matters. In the quiet of the morning, your mind is still uncluttered. The Stoics believed in setting the tone for the day with intention and purpose. Checking your phone, however, yanks you away from that stillness. It's like inviting a crowd of people into your bedroom while you're still trying to rub the sleep out of your eyes. It's not just about the information overload either. There's something deeper happening when you reach for your phone before you've even had a moment to breathe. You're reinforcing a habit of dependency. Your brain begins to crave that instant hit of stimulation, and before long, it becomes automatic. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll. Repeat. This cycle becomes ingrained, and breaking free of it becomes harder the longer you let it go on. From a Stoic perspective, this is where the idea of self-control comes into play. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from mastering ourselves, not from external things. When you let your phone dictate your morning, you're letting external things, notifications, messages, other people's agendas, control your thoughts and emotions. Over time, this chips away at your ability to act from a place of calm and clarity. So, what's the alternative? Instead of reacting, begin your day by responding, but to yourself. Give yourself the first few minutes of the morning. Breathe, stretch, reflect. If you're following Stoic practices, this might be the perfect time to meditate or journal. What do you want from today? How do you intend to handle whatever challenges come your way? These moments of quiet contemplation can set a powerful tone for the rest of your day, one that's grounded in your own values and purpose, rather than someone else's feed. In the end, breaking the habit of checking your phone first thing is about reclaiming your mornings, in your mind. It's about choosing how you want to start your day, with intention, mindfulness, and a sense of control. Number 3, overloading yourself with tasks or distractions. When it comes to mornings, one thing that really messes with your day is overloading yourself with tasks or distractions. It's easy to fall into this trap. You wake up, and your brain's already buzzing with a million things to do. You think, if I can get all of this done right now, the rest of the day will be smooth sailing. But here's the kicker, packing your morning full of tasks doesn't set you up for a productive day. Instead, it drains your energy before you've even had a chance to build momentum. You've probably been there. You've got your phone in one hand, trying to check emails while also trying to get dressed, eat breakfast, and mentally prepare for whatever the day holds. It's chaos. And while it might feel like you're being super productive, you're really just splitting your attention in so many directions that nothing gets your full focus. Stoicism, with its emphasis on calm and deliberate action, shows us that trying to do too much at once, especially at the start of the day, just leads to burnout and anxiety. Think about it. Mornings are supposed to be a time of calm, a reset from the day before, and a time to prepare for the challenges ahead. But when you overload yourself right out of bed, you rob yourself of that peace. Instead of getting a clear sense of what's important, you drown in the noise of all these tiny tasks that, in the grand scheme of things, don't really matter. Then there are distractions. Oh, distractions. They seem small and harmless, right? A quick scroll through social media, maybe a few minutes catching up on the news. But before you know it, you've spent 30 minutes on stuff that doesn't fuel your goals or give you any real value. Worse, your mind is now cluttered with information that has nothing to do with what you actually want to accomplish. It's like trying to drive a car with the radio blaring and windows down while someone's talking your ear off in the passenger seat. You can't think straight, let alone focus on the road ahead. A lot of people feel the pressure to start the day with a bang. They think if they're not busy every second, they're wasting time. But busyness and productivity are two very different things. Stoicism teaches us the power of intentional action. Instead of overloading yourself with a long to-do list first thing in the morning, it's better to start with a few meaningful tasks, things that truly matter and move the needle. This isn't to say that mornings should be lazy or unproductive. Far from it. But there's a balance to strike. The goal is to approach your day with clarity and purpose, not a frantic rush to check off boxes. When you slow down, prioritize, and cut out unnecessary distractions, you set the tone for a more productive, focused day. In fact, you'll likely find that by giving yourself space in the morning, you accomplish more in the long run. So, the next time you wake up, resist the urge to pile on the tasks or dive into distractions. Take a moment. Breathe. Think about what really needs your attention. Approach your day with intention, not overload, and you'll see how much smoother and more fulfilling your mornings, and your entire day, can become. Number 4, allowing random thoughts to dominate your mind. You know that moment when you wake up, and before you've even had a chance to rub the sleep out of your eyes, your brain is already off to the races? You haven't even gotten out of bed, and yet there's a flood of thoughts swirling around, stuff like, what if this happens, or I need to do this, that, and the other, or even just completely random nonsense that seems to pop in out of nowhere. It's almost like your mind becomes this chaotic, uncontrollable stream, and you're just along for the ride. But here's the thing, that's exactly what you don't want in the morning. From a Stoic perspective, the mind is something you're supposed to have control over. Stoicism emphasizes clarity, calmness, and focus, especially when it comes to how you manage your thoughts. But when you allow random, aimless thoughts to dominate your mind the second you wake up, you're essentially handing over control of your day before it's even begun. The Stoics would say you're letting yourself be ruled by chaos. And that's not exactly the best way to start your morning. Think about it, when your mind is racing like that, you're not really present. You're scattered, jumping from one thought to another, never really settling on anything. It's like your brain is throwing a million ideas at you, and instead of taking a moment to breathe, you're trying to juggle them all. No wonder it feels overwhelming. And what happens next? Well, usually, you start the day with this underlying sense of anxiety or stress because your thoughts are already out of control. One of the core principles in Stoicism is the idea of focusing only on what's within your control. You can't control the fact that your mind generates thoughts, that's just what it does. But you can absolutely control how you respond to those thoughts. Are you going to let them run the show, or are you going to choose which ones deserve your attention and which ones don't? When you wake up and let random thoughts dictate your morning, it's like showing up to your day with no direction, no purpose. You're just reacting, instead of taking charge. Here's where things get tricky. A lot of times, those random thoughts are sneaky, they feel important, urgent even. But most of the time, they're not. They're just noise. And when you let that noise take over, you lose sight of what really matters. The Stoics believed in starting the day with intention, with focus. That means recognizing those random thoughts for what they are, distractions. They pull you away from the present moment and from what you actually want to achieve. When you let your mind wander aimlessly, you're allowing outside influences, whether that's anxiety, random memories, or even just daydreams, to shape your day. Instead, imagine waking up with a clear mind, ready to face the day with purpose. When you actively choose to direct your thoughts, you're setting the tone for everything that follows. You're telling yourself, I'm in control here. It's not about being rigid or forcing yourself into some kind of mental discipline boot camp. It's about recognizing that first thing in the morning, your mind is a bit like a blank canvas. You get to choose what you paint on it. Will you fill it with random, chaotic brush strokes, or will you take the time to create something intentional? So, avoid letting random thoughts run your morning because, when you do, you're essentially letting external chaos dictate your internal peace. By practicing a bit of mental discipline, even just taking a moment to acknowledge and let go of unnecessary thoughts, you'll start your day with clarity. And that clarity? It's what makes all the difference. Number 5. Starting the day without intention or purpose. When you wake up in the morning, there's a certain power in the stillness. The world hasn't fully started moving yet, and for just a brief moment, you have the chance to set the tone for the day. But here's where a lot of people trip up. They just dive in head first, without even thinking about where they're headed. They get caught up in the flow of the day without ever asking themselves what they actually want from it. It's like getting into a car, starting the engine, and driving with no destination in mind. Sure, you'll go somewhere, but will it be where you want to be? Waking up without intention or purpose means you're starting the day on autopilot. You might go through the motions, shower, breakfast, commute, but something is missing. There's no grounding, no focus. You're reacting to whatever comes your way rather than steering the course. And if you think about it, that's not very Stoic, is it? The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us to be deliberate in how we live. It's not about controlling everything around us, that's impossible, but rather about controlling how we approach the world. And that begins with how we start our day. Without purpose, you're letting the events of the day dictate your mindset. With purpose, however, you're setting the agenda. You decide how you want to respond to challenges, rather than just reacting to whatever lands in your lap. Now, let's not make this sound too heavy. Living with intention doesn't mean you need to have some grand, life-changing plan every morning. It's not about having a 5-point strategy for conquering the world before noon. It can be as simple as checking in with yourself and deciding what kind of person you want to be today. What are your priorities? What's important to you? Are you going to let stress dictate your mood, or will you face the day with a sense of calm and presence? Just a moment of reflection before you jump into the day can make all the difference. When you start your day with purpose, you're giving yourself the gift of clarity. You're not just floating from task to task, hoping everything works out. Instead, you're making conscious decisions about how you want to move through the world. This creates a sense of agency. And in Stoicism, that's huge. The Stoics were all about focusing on what's within your control, and guess what? Your attitude, your intention, and how you approach the day are all completely within your control. On the flip side, without intention, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Things come at you from all directions, and before you know it, you're caught up in a whirlwind of distractions. You're left feeling scattered, unfocused, and like you're constantly playing catch-up. Starting the day without purpose leaves you vulnerable to whatever the world throws at you. You're not in the driver's seat, and that can lead to frustration, stress, and even burnout over time. So, what's the takeaway here? Mornings are a blank slate. Every day is a new opportunity to decide who you want to be and how you want to show up. Starting your day with purpose isn't about rigid control, it's about being mindful and intentional. It's about choosing to live deliberately, not just reacting to life as it happens. Number 6. Comparing yourself to others immediately. One of the quickest ways to derail a perfectly good morning is to start comparing yourself to others the minute you wake up. It's such an easy habit to fall into, especially in a world where we're bombarded with images, posts, and stories about how great everyone else's life looks. But let's be real, it's not doing you any favors. When you compare yourself to someone else first thing in the morning, you're setting yourself up for a day full of self-doubt and frustration. Picture this: you roll out of bed, grab your phone, and start scrolling through social media. You see someone who looks like they've got it all together. Maybe they've already hit the gym, made a perfectly plated breakfast, or are crushing it at work while you're still struggling to shake off sleep. In that instant, instead of focusing on your own day, you're consumed by thoughts like, why am I not doing that? Why don't I look like that? Am I falling behind? It's a mental trap, and once you're in it, it's hard to climb out. Here's the thing, comparing yourself to others first thing in the morning shifts your attention away from what really matters, your own life, your own goals, and your own journey. Stoicism teaches us that we only have control over ourselves, our actions, our thoughts, and our responses to what happens around us. When you start your day measuring yourself against someone else, you're giving away that control. You're letting someone else's life, which you only see a tiny piece of, dictate how you feel about your own. And it's never a fair comparison. You're looking at someone's highlight reel and stacking it up against your behind-the-scenes footage. Of course, it's going to feel imbalanced. You're not seeing their struggles, their bad days, or the challenges they've overcome. You're just seeing the polished, picture-perfect moments they've chosen to share, which don't tell the full story. But even if you could see the full picture, does it really matter? Their path is not your path. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control, and comparing yourself to others is the opposite of that. It's focusing on things outside your control, what someone else is doing, achieving, or presenting to the world. All that does is create unnecessary stress and distract you from your own progress. Instead of starting your day in comparison mode, try starting with a focus on yourself. What do you want to accomplish today? How can you make the most of your time? What can you control? These are the questions that matter. These are the things that will actually help you grow, rather than pulling you into a spiral of envy or self-criticism. And here's the thing, when you stop comparing yourself to others, you free up so much mental space. Space to focus on your own growth, your own values, and your own happiness. The more you practice this, the more you realize that other people's successes or appearances don't diminish your own. You're on your own unique path, and the only comparison that really matters is who you were yesterday versus who you are today. So tomorrow morning, when the temptation to compare creeps in, take a breath. Remember that you're not in competition with anyone else. Your morning is yours, and you get to decide how to spend it, focused on your own journey, not someone else's. Number 7, complaining or focusing on negativity. Negativity is one of those things that has a way of snowballing, especially in the morning when your brain is still warming up. One small complaint, and it's like the floodgates open. Suddenly, you're focusing on everything that's wrong, the weather, your workload, the tiny annoyances that haven't even happened yet. The mind loves to latch onto these things and turn them into mountains out of molehills. Now, here's where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism teaches that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And when you start your day by complaining or fixating on negative stuff, you're surrendering that control. You're allowing external factors to dictate how you feel, how you think, and ultimately, how you act. It's like you're handing over the keys to your mind before you've even had breakfast. The funny thing is, complaining feels like it gives you something, right? Like it's this release valve for frustration. But if you've ever spent time in that headspace, you know it doesn't actually help. It just keeps feeding into itself. The more you complain, the worse you feel, and the worse you feel, the more you complain. It's a vicious cycle. And it sets a negative tone for your entire day, making everything that follows feel heavier and more challenging than it needs to be. A Stoic would say that the problem isn't the things you're complaining about, it's your perspective on them. The weather isn't good or bad, it just is. Your busy schedule? Same thing. It's neutral, just a collection of tasks. But the moment you start slapping labels like bad or stressful on everything, that's when the negativity creeps in. It's all about your interpretation. Complaining is simply amplifying that interpretation, giving it more power than it deserves. Another thing about focusing on negativity in the morning, it's draining. You've just woken up, this is when your energy should be at its highest, your mind clear and ready to face the day. But if your first instinct is to focus on what's wrong, you're wasting that precious mental energy before you've even started. Instead of using that energy to tackle your day with purpose, you're funneling it into thoughts that do nothing but drag you down. And here's the Stoic twist: when you stop complaining, when you choose to focus on what you can control instead of what you can't, there's a surprising amount of freedom in that. It doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend everything's perfect. It means you acknowledge things for what they are, without giving them more emotional weight than necessary. You meet the day on your terms, with resilience and clarity. Complaining, after all, is passive. It's a way of saying, "I don't like this, but I'm not going to do anything about it." Stoicism encourages action, taking responsibility for your reactions, not getting bogged down in negativity or helplessness. Every time you choose not to complain, you're reclaiming a bit of your power, your mental space. You're actively shaping your mindset instead of letting it be shaped by circumstances beyond your control. So, next time you catch yourself starting the day with a complaint, stop. Ask yourself, does this help me? Is this how I want to spend my morning energy? Chances are, the answer will be no. And in that moment, you can shift your focus, redirect your thoughts, and start your day with a little more strength, a little more clarity, and a lot less negativity. Number 8, neglecting to plan the day ahead. Waking up without a plan for the day? That's like heading out on a road trip without a map or destination in mind. Sure, you might stumble across some cool spots along the way, but more often than not, you'll end up circling the same streets or wandering aimlessly. The truth is, neglecting to plan your day is a sneaky habit that can derail your productivity and throw off your sense of control, leaving you feeling scattered or, worse, stressed. Now, I get it. The idea of sitting down to plan the day might sound a bit rigid or unnecessary, especially if you've got a lot going on. But think about it, how often do we get caught in the whirlwind of a day, reacting to everything that comes our way instead of actively deciding how to handle it? Without even realizing it, we're swept up in everyone else's agenda, losing track of what we wanted to focus on in the first place. From a Stoic perspective, this is a major red flag. The Stoics believed in being deliberate with our actions, in knowing what we can control and directing our energy toward it. And what's more in your control than how you spend your time? When you start your day without a plan, you're handing over your freedom to external forces, emails, distractions, interruptions, letting them dictate how your hours unfold. It's like giving the reins of your mind to whatever happens to come your way, instead of intentionally steering your course. But let's flip the script. When you take even just a few minutes in the morning to plan, you're reclaiming that control. You're making the choice about what gets your attention and what can wait. It's a small act, but the impact is huge. A simple outline of your day can give you clarity and focus, helping you prioritize the things that truly matter. Whether it's tackling a big project, carving out time for personal growth, or simply deciding that today, you'll approach things with more patience, that plan sets the stage for a day that's yours. Now, don't think of this planning as some overwhelming to-do list. It's not about cramming every minute with tasks or rigidly sticking to a schedule. Think of it more like setting intentions, guiding principles for the day. You're identifying what's most important, what aligns with your values, and making sure those things get attention. It's like taking the time to check your compass before setting out into the world. Without this intention, the day has a way of slipping away. You might start with good energy, but distractions and little unimportant tasks creep in. Suddenly, it's afternoon, and you haven't even touched the things you wanted to work on. You end up chasing the day rather than leading it. That lack of direction can leave you feeling like you're just surviving rather than thriving, constantly caught in a loop of reaction. Planning the day isn't just about productivity, though. It's about peace of mind. When you have a plan, you're not constantly wondering what you should be doing next or stressing over forgotten priorities. Instead, you can approach the day with a sense of calm, knowing you've already made thoughtful decisions about where your time will go. And when unexpected things come up, and they always do, you're better equipped to handle them without losing your sense of focus. So, here's the takeaway: taking a moment in the morning to plan isn't just a task. It's a form of self-care. It's you taking charge of your time, your priorities, your life. And from a Stoic point of view, that's exactly what it means to live with intention, rather than letting the day carry you wherever it pleases. Number 9. Skipping morning meditation or mindfulness. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself in the morning is take a few moments to just be, to center your thoughts, focus your mind, and get grounded before diving into the chaos of the day. Yet, it's so tempting to skip morning meditation or mindfulness. You wake up, the to-do list is looming, and you think, I don't have time for that today, or I'll do it later. But we both know how that story goes: later never really comes, and you end up charging headfirst into the day without ever hitting pause. And sure, skipping it might seem like a small thing. What's the big deal, right? But here's the catch: morning meditation or mindfulness isn't just another item on your checklist. It's like setting the compass for your day. Without it, you're more likely to be pulled in 100 different directions, reacting to whatever comes your way, instead of intentionally choosing how to respond. Stoicism is all about taking control of how we approach life's challenges, and meditation or mindfulness is a key tool in that arsenal. When you start your day without mindfulness, it's like hopping into a car and hitting the gas without checking the map first. Sure, you'll move, but where are you actually going? You might feel like you're doing all the things, but you're not steering the ship. You're just being tossed around by the waves of distractions, stress, and noise. By skipping that morning moment of stillness, you miss out on the chance to set your intentions, to decide what's worth your energy and what's not. And the thing is, morning meditation or mindfulness doesn't have to be some grand, time-consuming ritual. You don't need to sit in silence for an hour or chant anything, unless you want to, of course. It can be as simple as sitting quietly for 5 minutes, focusing on your breath, or even just noticing how you're feeling as you wake up. The point is to create a little space between your waking thoughts and the flood of the day's demands. That space is golden. It allows you to observe your thoughts instead of being consumed by them. It helps you recognize the difference between what's truly important and what's just noise. In the context of Stoicism, this is huge. The Stoics believed in cultivating inner calm and clarity, no matter what's happening externally. And what better way to practice that than by starting your day with a moment of mindfulness? You're training yourself to approach the day with more intention, more awareness, and less reactionary behavior. Now, compare that to the mornings where you skip it. You might feel like you're saving time, but in reality, you're setting yourself up for a day of being on edge. Without that grounding moment, it's easier to get sucked into stress, frustration, or anxiety as things inevitably go wrong or unexpected challenges pop up. You haven't given yourself the mental clarity to deal with it all calmly. You're just reacting, like a pinball bouncing off everything that comes at you. And here's the beauty of sticking with morning mindfulness: it adds up. The more you practice it, the more you notice its impact throughout your day. You become more present, less thrown by distractions, and more in tune with what actually matters. It's like building a muscle. Each morning you take even a few minutes for mindfulness, you're strengthening your ability to navigate the world with clarity and calm. So, the next time you're tempted to skip it, remind yourself, those few minutes of mindfulness in the morning aren't just a luxury. They're the foundation of how you'll approach everything else in your day. By taking time to center yourself, you're giving yourself the gift of presence, focus, and a little bit of peace before life's noise tries to take over. Number 10. Failing to engage in gratitude practice. Alright, so picture this: the alarm goes off, and the day is officially in motion. What's your first instinct? Maybe you check your phone, think about your to-do list, or dive into whatever happened yesterday. But how often do you start your day by reflecting on what you're grateful for? It might sound like one of those feel-good, new agey habits, but hold up, there's something deeply Stoic about it. Stoicism is all about perspective, right? It's about understanding that life is full of ups and downs, things you can control and things you can't. But here's the kicker, no matter what's happening around you, there's always something to be grateful for. The problem is, most of us don't pause to acknowledge that, especially in the morning when our minds are busy gearing up for the day. When you skip a gratitude practice, you're missing out on a chance to set the tone for your entire day. Let's break it down. Mornings are a clean slate, a fresh start. You have a moment, however brief, to decide how you want to approach the hours ahead. If you jump straight into your tasks or your worries, you're already giving external stuff more power than it deserves. But if you take even a minute to reflect on something you're thankful for, you shift your mindset. Suddenly, the day isn't just a series of challenges or stresses, it becomes an opportunity. Gratitude is like a mental reset button. It's a way to remind yourself, hey, things might not be perfect, but there's still good here. And that small shift in perspective can make a huge difference. It's not about ignoring life's difficulties or pretending everything's rainbows and sunshine. It's about acknowledging the good, even if it's buried under layers of tough stuff. From a Stoic perspective, failing to engage in gratitude is like voluntarily blinding yourself to the positive aspects of life. The Stoics believed in accepting reality as it is, but they also taught that we can choose how we see it. When you actively practice gratitude, you're training your mind to focus on what's right instead of what's wrong. And that's powerful. Another thing, gratitude keeps you grounded. When you start your day recognizing what you already have, it's easier to let go of the constant craving for more. The Stoics were big on the idea of sufficiency, the notion that we already have everything we need to live a good life. But if you're not taking the time to reflect on that, it's easy to get caught up in the endless chase for something new, something better. Practicing gratitude helps you realize, hey, I'm okay. More than okay, actually. Skipping this practice might seem like no big deal, but here's where it gets tricky. If you're not making gratitude a priority, it's all too easy to let negativity, stress, or dissatisfaction creep in. Those feelings can quickly dominate your thoughts and set the wrong tone for your day. You end up focusing on what's lacking, what's missing, or what's frustrating. And once that mindset takes over, it's hard to shake. But a few moments of gratitude can flip the script, offering a sense of calm, clarity, and contentment that carries you through the day. So, here's the deal, a morning gratitude practice isn't some fluffy, feel-good ritual. It's a Stoic tool, a way of training your mind to see the world more clearly and with more balance. It helps you focus on what you can control, your attitude, your mindset, and let go of what you can't. When you skip this practice, you're letting an opportunity slip through your fingers. You're allowing external pressures, distractions, and negative thoughts to fill the void instead. But when you start your day with gratitude, you're taking control. You're choosing to see the good, however small, and that choice shapes everything that follows. Thanks for watching. Remember, our mornings set the tone for the entire day, and by avoiding these habits, you can start your day with clarity and purpose. As Stoicism teaches us, we have the power to shape our mindset and actions. So, take control, make mindful choices, and live each day with intention. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and practical tips. Stay strong, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next video.